All right, welcome into Sports Bit Betting Insight today, Wednesday, May 11th. Pauly and Teddy on SBRpicks.com. Big game breakdown. Could be the final night in the NBA where we only have two games. We'll get to the doubleheader and we'll throw in Tigers and the Nationals Part 2 with Drew Martin. Deep Dive will be recapping the National League and we'll talk about the Cubs, the Pirates, and the Braves. Play of the day. We look to stay red hot. Stick around for that. We start with bad bets and we have to start with the Spurs. They were bet up to 7.5, and wow, how this series changed. Remember, the last team to lose Game 1 by 30 points and win the series, the 85 Lakers. Well, OKC now leads 3-2 in Game 6 in their place coming up Thursday night. And a tip of the cap to Billy Donovan, making all the right moves, pushing all the right buttons. And the Spurs, who lost one time at home in a regular season, lose back-to-back against OKC, Teddy.
Yeah, and remember, after Game 1, and you and I were talking about it, I thought that the series was over. Absolutely over. The way San Antonio demolished Oklahoma City in terms of a defensive game plan. You know, the Thunder had none. After that Game 1, OKC plus 600 to win the series. If you shopped around, you could have found an even better number than that. San Antonio was 9-1 favorites, right in that range. Yeah, this series has shifted one heck of a lot. And, of course, all that talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder's fourth quarter issues, all the losses. They led teams in blown fourth quarter leads during the regular season. What happens? Well, look at this graph. Fourth quarter since Game 1. Oklahoma City 108, San Antonio 84. It's been the Thunder that's been the better team down the stretch, not the Spurs.
Aldridge has disappeared since the first two games when he had 41 points and 38, 8 of 21, 8 of 18, and 6 of 21. They've really adjusted on Aldridge. And, hey, Father Time's undefeated. Duncan, Ginobili, Parker have stunk in this entire series. Maybe, hey, should Pop play Boban? He's 7'3". Put the kid in there. He can't do any worse than Duncan.
Well, I mean, what does it come down to at this time of year, Pauly? It comes down to the fact that superstars win playoff games. Whether it's LeBron, whether it's Curry, or whether it's some guys named Westbrook and Durant. Aldridge and Leonard are not Westbrook and Durant. And that's been on very clear display the last couple of games. We talked about how, I mean, look, LaMarcus Aldridge, he's still had a great series.
Yeah.
You know, he just hasn't shot lights out. And without him dominating, the Spurs haven't been the better team. I mean, they really haven't. And, of course, it's definitely worth noting that San Antonio, the deepest team in the league in the regular season, that depth doesn't matter as much in the postseason. And bad news for them.
Yeah.
Their bench got outplayed last night. All 5 bench players that saw action were negative in plus-minus minutes.
This one will drive you nuts. Yeah, right. This one will drive you nuts too. The Sunday when Curry got hurt against the Rockets, here in Las Vegas at the South Point, OKC was 18-1 to win the West. You are live in a big way with that ticket if you got down there. More bad bets. Huh?
Well, there's one more thing that's worth talking about in this game before we let it go.
Yep.
Pauly. You know, the Spurs. Remember all the quotes we were reading about how the Spurs said they got out-toughed in Game 4, you know, and they were going to be tougher in Game 5.
Yeah.
It only got worse last night for San Antonio in that regard. Oklahoma City won the boards 54-35. San Antonio dominated on the glass.
Danny Green had a good quote too about they've scouted us. They know everything we're going to do. And again, great job there coaching, and I'm surprised Green said that after the game. Bad bet.
Billy Donovan has earned his whatever respect we didn't have for him prior to this series. We have to have for him right now. Billy Donovan has done a phenomenal job in terms of adjustments, particularly defensively for Oklahoma City against that San Antonio offense that looked in Game 1 to be completely unstoppable.
What happened to the Throwin Samoan? He got lit up last night by the Red Sox. A's a bad bet.
Yeah, and let's call it a bad bet for Oakland rushing Sean Manaea up to the major leagues. Look, he went 2 2/3. He gave up 10 hits, 8 earned runs. He only threw 41 pitches at Fenway, and 31 of them went for strikes. He probably should have thrown a couple more balls. We're talking about the number 1 pick in the 2013 amateur draft. And, of course, what do the markets do? The markets love these young kids that they haven't seen before. Betting markets, nothing but Oakland money. Boston was minus 130, got bet down to basically pick them. But then we talk about the Throwin Samoan. He's a guy with only 67 innings of AA and AAA experience combined. Only 3 games at AAA. I don't know if it's such a smart move for the Oakland A's to be sending someone with that little experience into a park like Fenway. And, of course, you got to wonder, Pauly, are the A's getting desperate already? The American League is really good. Oakland's now 1-8 in their last 9 games. Yep. The bullpen's completely spent. Their last 3 starters failed to make it out of the 4th inning. I've got my questions about Oakland. The fact that they rushed Manaea into this start at Fenway, to me, smells of desperation.
How about Conley and the Marlins? Conley $1.60. They get beat 10-2.
Yeah, and of course, we've seen the Marlins now favored minus 120 or higher on 13 occasions this season. They're 6-7 in those ball games. I mean, should Adam Conley really be minus 160 against anybody at this stage in his career? I know he threw a shutout, or I shouldn't say a shutout. He threw 5.1 innings of shutout ball in his previous start, but Miami, not an easy team to lay $160 with just now. Drew Martin will talk about them later in the show.
Another bad bet, Yankees-Royals under. We knew Medlin would get roughed up. That was our play of the day. Tanaka didn't have anything. Kane hit 3 home runs, and they still lose. Chapman came in for the save.
Yeah, I mean, the Yankees under, the under in that ballgame was a wrong side. Obviously a bad bet. If you had KC, it was kind of a bad beat. The Royals hit 4 home runs. Kane goes for 3. And every one of those dingers either tied the game or took the lead for Kansas City. Yankees didn't hit any home runs, and yet they still won the game. Heck, they still won on the run line. KC bullpen's getting lit up in the Bronx.
Yeah, White Sox, Rangers under, another bad bet. 15 runs in the first 3 innings in that one.
Yeah, and of course, we saw the markets bet the 9.5 down to 9 in many locations. Games that have 15 runs scored in the first 3.5, not good under bets.
No. What do you got on the Giants? They got beat again. They are struggling on offense.
Yeah, I mean, they've scored 3 runs the last 4 games combined. The Giants at least didn't take any money yesterday. Toronto, in fact, took the money. They were the public side. And, of course, San Fran makes it interesting in the bottom of the 9th. They get the bases loaded. No, they didn't even get one. Yeah. Not one hit, not a bloop single, not nothing. Giants shut out again. Ice cold right now. They're a bad bet when they're not hitting.
Here's a bad beat. Cubs 8-3, top of the 8th. But the Padres, a grand slam. Cubs win, but they don't cover the run line.
Yeah, and of course, they led by 5 like they do every night.
Yeah.
But it's not just the grand slam. It's who the grand slam came to. Here's a kid, Alex Dickerson, pinch hitter. He had 13 previous big league at-bats. He was at September call-up last year. He hadn't done anything but pinch hit with the Padres this year. San Diego can't hit. And 13 previous big league at-bats, 3 singles. Here, doesn't make a difference in the game. Cubs still win. But if you laid it on the run line, and that's something that I've been doing on a daily basis, yeah, that one stung a little bit, Paul. It really did. You thought you had another one cashed, and it didn't quite get there. Adam Warren, no Christmas card this year. He's, of course, the reliever who gave up that grand slam.
Yeah, Cubs and Padres with a doubleheader today from Wrigley. Up next, big game breakdown. We'll start with the Raptors and the Heat. Big game 5 coming up on SportsBit. Betting Insight today.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much more.
We're back on SportsBit. Time for big game breakdown. Live odds. Go to sportsbookreview.com. Heat Raptors. Raptors at home. 4.5. 188.5. And 15 outscored 15-6 after Lowry fouled out. And the guy they needed to step up looked lost. And we're talking about DeRozan again. Look at this graphic. This is what he did in Game 4. 33 minutes, 4 of 17 shooting, 9 points, 3 boards, 3 turnovers, minus 11. And he didn't have an assist. So, this guy has to step up and play better. Or, Toronto would make 9-2 run with the under. But if Lowry isn't getting done, Casey's looking at it. He doesn't have any options either if these two guys continue to stink it up.
No, they already lost their big man. Of course, Miami's not going to have their big man. Whiteside in this game either. He didn't make the trip up to Toronto, but we got to talk about DeRozan because it's one thing. It's clear that the thumb injury is affecting him, and it's clearly affecting his shooting, and that's not going to get better in this playoff series. It's not. They're not going to have time to rest. That's going to be a lingering problem for DeMar DeRozan. But when you look at the rest of those numbers, 3 rebounds, no assists, no steals, 3 turnovers. That's the type of stuff that if you're having a rough shooting night and you're a superstar, you don't end up with 3 assists, 3 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 3 turnovers. This is where DeRozan has to impact the game in a way other than his shooting. But, I really wonder about the Raptors' mentality here. I wonder if that team's a little bit fragile right now. But on the other hand, if Lowry or DeRozan, all it's taken for Toronto to succeed in this series is one of the two guys to go off. But I don't know if either of them is capable of it. But that being said, Toronto still could have won Game 5. They could have won Game 4, I should say. They could have won a bunch of
they're up 9. They're up 9 with 6 minutes. I know. Yeah. Well, you could say that. How about if you're a Miami fan, or if you're with Miami, if somebody could help out Wade, who knows what this team could be capable of? No one's helping Wade out.
Well, that's the key. Other than Dwayne Wade, the other Heat players are doing their own Lowry DeRozan impersonation. Look at the graph, Pauly. You got it right there in front of you. Wade, 26 of 49 shooting in Game 3 and Game 4. The rest of the team, 43 of 108. And the one that stands out to me on this chart, of course, besides the fact that Wade scored more than a third of their points, the rest of the team over the last 2 games, 1 of 25 from beyond the arc. Miami can do better than that. They should do better than that. They probably will do better than that in game number 5. Is that going to be enough? Because the Heat clearly need production from someone other than the best player on the floor.
Yeah, maybe more minutes for Ross, more shots for Ross, more shots for Carroll. And if you're Miami, I don't know what Spoelstra's going to do. Remember, he benched Winslow in Game 3. He played well in Game 4. But if you think you're going to get anything out of Stoudemire or McRoberts, you're kidding yourself.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. It's worth noting. Remember, we brought up this stat earlier in the week. Through the first 4 games of the series, the Heat assisted on only 33% of their baskets. That was the lowest ratio for any team in the series in the last 20 years. What happened in Game 5? The exact same thing. Or Game 4, I say. Only 15 more assists for the Heat in 53 minutes. Remember, they had an extra 5 minutes to get assists. They still didn't dish. It's all one-on-one for Miami, but that one-on-one's been good enough to win games.
Yep. Fascinating series. It's been ugly, but this is with the injuries and the coaches can't get enough of that. Game 5 tonight, more on this game coming up. Blazers-Warriors. Warriors try to close it out. 12.5. 216.5 the total. Do the Blazers have anything left? Lillard and McCollum combined for 84 minutes on Saturday, so we knew they were tired going in. Well, then they came out in Game 4, 94 minutes. Look at this graphic. 18 of 53 combined shooting, 12 assists, 8 turnovers, and they couldn't stay in front of Curry. While Curry was only 5 of 16 from 3, he got going on the 2s early because he missed his first 9 threes. He was 11 of 16 shooting 2s. So what we'll see if these guys can keep it close. And some interesting comments from Green and Lillard in this one, Teddy.
Yeah, but let's start with the concept of, the fact that Blazer backcourt is clearly gassed. And then you compare that to the Golden State Warriors backcourt. No signs of fatigue from Steph Curry. He only played a half game in the last 3 weeks. His playoffs are just getting started as opposed to Lillard and McCollum's, whose playoff run is going to end tonight. And, think about it. The best thing Curry does is shoot. On Monday, he scored 40 points. You know what? That was the worst thing he did. He had 9 rebounds. He had 8 assists. He helped set the faster pace that wore the Blazers out. He did everything on the floor. The antithesis of what we were talking about with DeRozan, rough shooting night for Curry, didn't matter. And of course it wasn't a rough shooting night, but the rest of his game was there, and the pace was a key factor. But of course the quotes, that's what everyone's talking about, right? When they're talking about Game 5. The battle of words between Draymond Green and Damian Lillard, Paul.
Yeah, Green was asked if he thought the Blazers were done. He said, do I think they're done? Of course they're done. 21-9, 7 blocks, 5 assists, and 4 steals. And Lillard came back saying, quote, we want to go out there and make sure they respect us, make sure they understand it's not going to be what everyone thinks it's going to be. No rolling over. Not going to be out there being scared. It's not going to be any of that, end quote. Well, that place is going to be rocking tonight as they give Curry the MVP and they look to finish off the Blazers. I don't think they're going to quit. But again, like Miami and Toronto, I think the first quarter is huge for the home team in the early game. I think the first quarter is huge for Portland if they want to stick around and make this a competitive game.
Yeah, and the Blazers have been getting out the hot starts, but I mean they took a real gut punch the other night in Portland, and to bounce back from that in an elimination game on the road, hard for me to see Portland doing it. That being said, if you like the Warriors side, I'd bet this one sooner rather than later. We've already seen Golden State money. Wouldn't be surprised at all if we see more before tip-off.
All right, good point there. Let's finish it out with a baseball game, and again, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Tigers against the Nationals. Zimmerman against his former team going against Scherzer. Scherzer $1.60, 7 the total. Zimmerman 5-1 with a 1.10 ERA. But look at these numbers, Teddy. You have the graphic. He's given up a lot of contact and a lot of fly balls.
Yeah, and this game's so fun to talk about because it's Zimmerman's first start against the Nationals.
Yep.
And it's also Scherzer's first start against his former team, the Tigers. We forget that he spent most of his career in Detroit before getting great, although he did start in Arizona. But when you look at Zimmerman and the graphic that we're showing, the strikeout rate is down, the swinging strike percentage is down. What hasn't happened so far is he hasn't given up home runs. The fly balls haven't turned in to home runs. You read his quote, I feel like I'm the same person I've always been. Luck's just on my side right now. When you look at the xFIP number, it takes the basis stats and neutralizes for league average home rate. And what does that do for Zimmerman's numbers? Well, look at this graphic. Yeah, the 1.10 ERA. The xFIP says it should be more like 4.41. Might be living on borrowed time. But, of course, his quote, he's ready for the Nats. Quote, I am sure I'll be amped up. I'll have to calm down and just try to pitch my game. There's a handful of guys over there I'm still friends with, and we text each other throughout the year. But this is a business trip now. I am going to get after them.
And the exact opposite for Scherzer. His fly balls are winding up in the hands of the fans as they're home runs. 9 home runs allowed on the season, 4 in his last start in Wrigley. And you look at this graphic since the 2015 All-Star break, 137 innings pitched, 26 home runs. Will this create a spark maybe for Scherzer going against his former team, Teddy?
Well, here's the quote. I'm kind of feeling it. You're so excited to be able to get a start like this. But I know when you're on the mound and you get into these situations, you have to calm down. You can't try to throw your best fastball in the first inning. It's worth noting that Detroit may be without Miggy Cabrera in this game. He's got a bad knee, and there's no DH in the National League Park. The initial assessment is that he is probable. I'm not so sure I believe that. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see Cabrera get the night off for Detroit.
All right, up next, Deep Dive, Part 2 with Drew Martin, MLB expert. Yesterday was the AL, today's the National League, and we look to stay hot with the play of the day. It's coming up on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Go to SBROdds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
It's Deep Dive time here on SportsBit, and we're going to go to Part 2 of our interview with Drew Martin. Drew, of course, you can watch yesterday's show where I introduced him, talked about his history in finance, and picked his brain about what American League teams we want to pay attention to. Today, we're going to talk about National League teams, and let's start with some disappointments. The D-backs have been a disappointment so far. I think the whole NL West as a division has been a disappointment. The Dodgers haven't been that good. The Giants haven't been that good. And, of course, the Rockies and the Padres are what they are. And then, of course, there's the Braves, who have been so abysmal. Even though everyone knew they were going to be bad, they've been worse than bad thus far. Any of those teams going to turn it around? And any of those teams that you think still is worthy of a fade moving forward?
Well, Teddy, this one's a tough one for me as far as disappointments, and I'm going to have to put a caveat in there. Hopefully that's okay with you. I would actually look to bet on the Braves on the 5-inning line. It's all about price point here. Are the Braves a good team? Absolutely not. This team has some young talent, and you're going to be able to find them at a big plus price. But I just want to stay away from their bullpen. Not a heartbeat out of the bullpen. Starting pitcher's pretty good. Aaron Blair, the kid from Vegas, Matt Whistler as well. Good performances. So I'm looking to get on the Braves first 5 innings.
I like the way you're thinking out of the box there. Let's talk about some surprises in early season National League action. You have the Phillies above 500, the bottom feeder Phillies. You have the Cubs as the best team anyone's ever seen anywhere. you know, maybe since what is it, the '84 Tigers, and then I guess the Marlins maybe a little bit of a surprise. Although the advanced metrics guys liked Miami coming into this season, and the fact they're a couple games over 500, they haven't been a monster moneymaker. Which one of those teams offers the most value moving forward, and which one of those teams do you think is going to regress to the mean?
Well, today I'm kind of pessimistic when it comes to this one. I don't think the Marlins can keep it up. I think that D. Gordon suspension really hurts them a lot more than a lot of people realize. I'm going to pump the brakes on the Fish as of right now, although I do love Adam Conley coming from the left side. You know, the Cubs, really good. I'm not betting against them. Such a patient lineup, 5.2 walks per game. I love that out of lineups, so I would be looking to bet on them more than against them. And the Phillies, 11-3 in one-run games, 3-0 in extra inning games. They're not walking, only 2.5 walks per game. And, over 10 units of profit on the year. I just don't think the Phillies can keep it up.
Yeah, I like the chemistry in that Philadelphia clubhouse. I do not, however, think their bullpen can match what they've done so far. You've been riding any of this Cubs run line train? You know, I've been talking about it and talking about it and talking about it and not betting nearly enough on it. But this Cubs team, have you seen? They're the best team that I remember seeing. I'm trying to think of the great Yankees teams maybe in 99 or 2000 that could match this year's Chicago Cubs. But this is a special ball club. Do you think, Drew, or do you think they're just, okay?
Oh, I mean, they're the best in baseball, in my opinion. You know, would I take them or the field? I'm not so sure. I think that's kind of 50-50. But, yeah, I mean, they're the best team I can remember as well, Teddy. I'm not looking to step in front of them. I mean, but at this price point, it's also hard to jump on that train right now, you know?
That's why if you're playing them, you got to be playing them on the run line. I'm with you 100% on that because it obviously reduces your liability and increases your potential for profit as long as they win by 2 runs or more. And I think, 20 of their first 22 wins or 23 wins came by 2 runs or more. So it's been paying off thus far. All right, we've talked about sides. Let's talk about totals here with Drew Martin. Drew, under teams. The Dodgers, really the only under team in the National League so far. Yesterday we did the American League. I ran off a list of half the league. Anyone else going to join the Dodgers as an under team? And are the Dodgers going to stay an under team? What's your take?
Well, I actually think the Phillies can join them. You know, they got Aaron Nola, Vince Velasquez coming from the starters, and from the bullpen, their K percentage in the pen is almost 25%. A lot of nasty stuff coming out of their relievers. And then, you know, their lineup, like you said, I know you were positive on them, but their hard hit rate is only 25.5%. So not something I think that they can sustain as far as putting up a lot of points on the board. So I'm going to say the Phillies start trending towards the under.
I noticed you've been throwing out a bunch of stats like hard hit rate, a lot of the advanced metric numbers. Do you use those on a daily basis when you handicap, or are those something that you're kind of I look at them, but I don't necessarily going to make any betting decisions based on those?
Oh, absolutely. I try to use as much advanced metric stats to my advantage as possible. And as you know, Teddy, I mean, if you were just straight using the advanced metrics in 2009, 2010, you could just go straight metrics and make a profit. Nowadays, not so much. I mean, you got to really use park factors against them, things of that nature. So it is more of a read on the advanced metrics. But yeah, I'm definitely using as much as possible to my advantage.
We're getting near the end here with Drew Martin, trying to do 5 great minutes with a young up-and-coming MLB capper. Drew, over teams in the National League, there's been a ton of them. We got the Cubs, the Marlins, the Pirates, the Giants, the Braves, the Reds, the Cardinals, the Brewers, all trending over in early season play. Which ones over teams all year? Which one of those squads, not so much?
Hey, Teddy, out of all we're talking about, National or American, I feel the most confident in this one. The Reds, bet them over.
Thank you.
Yeah, .277 BABIP, batting average of balls in play. Bottom 5 in MLB. That's got to improve. And the Reds have the absolute worst bullpen in all of baseball. And there's some bad bullpens out there. But their bullpen whip of 1.63, I just don't see any end in sight. We knew there was a regression with the loss of Chapman, and they just don't look good on the bullpen. Reds over all day long. As far as an under, I'm looking to bet the Pirates under. Their BABIP .338, number 1 in MLB. I see a little regression there. A little less confident in that. I'm Reds over all day long, Teddy.
I'm right there with you. Drew Martin, great spending some time with you here on SportsBit. Thanks for 5 great minutes. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, thanks for having me on, Teddy. Best of luck to you.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much more.
Wrapping it up on SportsBit, NFL Thursday and Friday. Nice job by Drew Martin. Good job there, Teddy. That was part 2. Now, money time. Play of the day. Let's keep it going. Let's stay perfect this week. We're going to betting number 537, the Miami Heat +4. You look at this graphic. Home court has meant nothing in this series. The home team's been outscored by 4 in regulation, just +1 total for the series. And when it comes down to the end of the game, we have the best player in the series, and we have the one guy who wants the ball and can deliver and will deliver, and that's D. Wade. Play of the day, the Heat plus the points tonight in Toronto. We'll be back tomorrow on SportsBit. Betting Insight today.